This is the Boys Gen V podcast on TV Podcast Industries, and we're talking about Gen V Season 2, Episode 6, Cooking Lesson.
Annabeth, you're the only family I've got left. The only thing that I want is for you to be safe.
Marie, anything bad that has ever happened in my life has been because of you. You are the danger.
Welcome back, boys and girls, to the Boys Gen V podcast on TV Podcast Industries, and we're talking about Gen V Season 2, Episode 6, Cooking Lesson. I am one of your hosts, Chef Chris.
I am your other host, Very Hungry Derek.
Yeah, there you go. Can you dice this tomato for me, please? Or tomato?
Or tomato, yes. You know, it's one of those things that a lot of people don't really think of. You're stuck in a bunker, living out the rest of your life because the whole world's gone to crap. Who's going to cook for you? So, very smart of Stan Edgar to go get himself some proper lessons from an award-winning chef
for six figures plus.
Yep.
That's some good cooking lessons.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
Unfortunately, we're not earning six figures as in our day jobs for cooking lessons.
Nope. Maybe through our Patreon. No, we're not earning that through the Patreon.
If anyone wants to pay us six figures
per month, yes,
per month for our dulcet tones and thoughts on Gen V, we are more than welcome. But until that happens, I think we need to just focus on what will be a frittata level of podcast discussion.
Yes, absolutely.
I did think you'd go more for at least that level of cooking lesson. Do you think you'd go a bit more kind of spectacular than a tomato frittata?
Yeah.
Which is basically just a tomato omelette.
It is basically, isn't it? Yeah. I was kind of thinking, you know, what could you do? I guess you'd have to be in that bunker with lots of caviar, you know, and lots of Wagyu steak or something in there. But they've already done the Wagyu steak moments this season, so they can't really repeat that, can they?
Well, for six figures, you can.
Yes, true.
But we're not here to talk about six figures or Wagyu steak or even frittatas. We are here
to make Derek hungry. That's what you're here for, apparently.
Yeah, pretty much. No, we're here to discuss Cooking Lesson, the episode. Mm-hmm. Now, before we get into it, don't forget to pop on over to our website, tvpodcastindustries.com, where you can leave us feedback and subscribe to any of our bloody Soup or Starlighter podcast players. You can also send us your feedback to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com or head on over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/tvpodcastindustries, and you can leave us your thoughts on each spoiler post for each episode, because we want to hear what you think. Would you pay six figures for a frittata lesson? We don't know. But would you pay six figures for the Gen V pub quiz? Our quizmaster may not be here. That is okay. But he has left us some questions. And you know what that means. We'll be continuing our Gen V pub quiz with a question later in the episode. Don't forget you can gather together all 8 answers to these questions at the end of the season. Email them to us at feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, and you can be in a chance of getting your hands on some Gen V goodies.
Yes, our quizmaster has not left us any questions. The good news is that means the question is way easier than it would be if he was here. So you'll hear that question later on in the podcast. Yes. And that's our 6th question of 8, Chris, because we're coming up to our last couple of episodes of Gen V.
I know, the penultimate is next week, and I have no idea where... Well, no, I think I know where they're going, but I have no idea where they're going.
We will talk about it, definitely.
Yes. But before we get into it, and we're going to get into it, Derek, do you want to tell us who gave us what, where, when, and how with the episode details?
Absolutely, yes. The show, of course, is developed by Craig Rosenberg and Evan Goldberg with Eric Kripke. It's based on the comic series by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson. The executive producers of the show are Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. And this episode was written by Chelsea Grate. She wrote Season 1, Episode 7, and is an executive story editor on the show, of course, as well. The episode was directed by Catriona McKenzie, her first episode of Gen V, but she did direct The Boys Season 4, Episode 7, the penultimate episode of that season as well, and also directed the third episode of Echo for Marvel. So we talked about her a lot here on the podcast.
That was a good one.
It was, yes. We enjoyed Echo. It gets lots of people commenting on threads going, why did nobody tell me this show was that good? I think it's just because it all came out in a day and people just assumed it wasn't going to be that good. It's not the greatest of Marvel shows, don't get me wrong, but certainly worth a watch. It's not
definitely
that long.
No, exactly. It's up there with like Werewolf by Night, where it's still every now and again someone will tell me, it's like, oh, I saw this thing, and turns out it's Marvel, and I'm like, yep, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those interesting ones that people say they didn't watch because it was in black and white, and then when you tell them there's a colorized version there, it was released about a month after the black and white one was. It was like, oh, better go and check that out then.
Yeah.
So I'll have a lot of fun. Yeah, great stuff. But Chris, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for The Boys Gen V Season 2, Episode 6, Cooking Lesson?
Sure. After being resurrected by her sister, a newly empowered Annabeth leads the team in a daring escape from their prison, guided by her precog visions and Sam's brute force wall smashing. They find brief refuge in an abandoned library where Emma manages to send a desperate call for help to Harper. Harper in turn reaches out to Polarity, who is unknowingly under the control of Cipher. Cipher seizes on this intel and unleashes Vikor to track down Marie. But before he can kill her, Zoe Neuman intercepts and kills Vikor during her own search for Marie alongside the one and only Stan Edgar. With nowhere else to turn, the remaining team reluctantly follows Zoe and Stan back to their underground bunker. There, Stan reveals a chilling truth. Marie and Homelander are the only surviving successes of Odessa, a secret program he once shut down believing it had failed. While Sam struggles to reconnect with Emma, only for her to pull away, Stan starts unravelling a disturbing parallel between Cipher's schemes and the work of Thomas Godolkin. Jordan and Kate put the pieces together, realising that Cipher is actually Thomas's son, manipulating his father's legacy to complete his own twisted vision. Stan considered using Thomas as a weapon to challenge Homelander and reclaim control of Vought. Cipher's true intentions come into focus to purge Godolkin of all but the most powerful soups, leaving only the elite standing. He reveals this genocidal plan to Polarity, who violently rejects it, hurling Cipher out a window using his powers. Meanwhile, Kate pleads with Marie to use her powers to heal her, but Marie refuses. She leaves the protection of Stan Edgar's secure bunker, followed closely by Kate. Well, there you have it. Definitely an interesting turn of events is the best way of putting it, I think.
Yeah, there's still some questions on this episode as to exactly what Cipher is. I know it's very clear. We try and kind of come down on the side when we have the synopsis, right? As to what exactly is happening. There's a little jump there that they have guessed that Cipher is the son of Thomas Godolkin, which we've been jumping to that conclusion all season. But there's still that possibility that that Cipher's body is being controlled by Thomas Godolkin as well. I don't think it's firmly there in the episode. No,
I'm with you. Like, even in the synopsis, I'm a bit like, I don't know. They're like, they made the jump. They're saying this. I think there's no direct until we get I'm controlling my dad, or I'm using my dad's thing, or because again, what we're seeing is Cipher can control people, but what we're not seeing is that we haven't got any information or anything to say that he is telepathic and can pull information out of people, for example.
Yeah. He can read people's minds, that we have kind of heard that he knows what's going on.
We've heard that he knows what's going on.
Yeah.
But we haven't actually heard that he can pull that information out. It's just usually they would be very blatant about it.
Exactly.
So that's why I'm a bit like,
It was just even there's a moment in the episode where, which I thought was going to confirm it, where Cipher is slapping what we now know as Thomas Godalton. That's been confirmed, but he's slapping him in the face, telling him that he's useless, or saying at least to the world that he's useless. And you're still wondering whether that's his body being controlled by Thomas Godalkin, and I don't know, for some reason I'm still not sure.
He slaps himself first.
Yes.
So we will get into this more, because I think this,
yes.
And then he smacks himself around. Then he continues at a later point to start smacking around.
There you go.
The form. Yes. So I'm a bit like, oh well, as Cipher was not with Godalkin, he starts slapping himself, and then when he's with Godalkin, he slaps himself again, but does that by smacking. I think there's a bit there's something, but let's get into talking about that later. So,
excellent.
If you're joining us for the first time, I don't know why, because you're jumping in at quite an interesting point.
Yeah, why not?
But we are here, and we usually break it down very quickly to talk about our freshman moments, our sophomore moments, and our senior moments. Freshman, minor, sophomore, medium, and our senior is our major moments. And I think we'll kick off with our freshman moments. Derek, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, we've described our freshman moment as the moment that kind of sticks with us after the episode. Sometimes just a really freakish attack, and sometimes just something that's going on in the background that kind of makes you think. This time, my one is the gang hiding out in the library. Just because of what's not said, I suppose. The team themselves kind of get there, and Emma just really wants to use the bathroom, basically. That's it. But if you look at the kind of corners and the edges of what's going on here, it kind of tells a bit of a story about what's going on in this world now that Homelander's gotten into power, and that the Homelanders and Starlighters are up against each other, that the Homeland supporters and the Starlighters are up against each other, because there seems to be lots of burned books in this library, some that you can read the covers of. There's a reference to drag story time, where drag queens were used to be able to read books in libraries to young kids, but that's been banned in this horrible world. And also 1984 is another book that's burned, which talks about an over-controlling superpower taking over the country. But just quite interesting that this kind of stuff is going on in the corners of the world while we have these college kids worrying about what's going on in their university, basically. The other one that you might notice, just because Emma, before she goes into the library, is going toilet. You notice the actual sign that's up there for the gender-neutral bathroom has been sprayed over with the word perv as well. So again, somebody taking issue with the fact that outside of your own home, you're not allowed to use the same bathroom as someone of another gender, Chris, apparently. No. You must use an assigned bathroom for your assigned gender when you go into anywhere outside of your own home, even though everybody lives in a place with a gender-neutral bathroom, to the point where it seems to have driven some kind of attack on this library. So this is the thing that stuck with me. At the end of the episode, I was going, wow, that they didn't really talk about that very much. The whole team are there in this site that looks like it's been the site of some kind of battle or some kind of fight between one group and another, who've been turfed out of this place. And now we have our gang just kind of sitting in the remnants of a place that would be welcoming to everybody. But it seems to have had some kind of big battle and book burning. Yep.
We often, throughout The Boys Gen V Season 1, we've talked about Kripke and Eric Kripke, one of the lead writers and kind of showrunners. We've talked about Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen and how they've all seemed to be almost precog themselves when it comes to ensuring that when their shows are coming out, those shows in particular, that a lot of the themes or some of the bits that have happened mirror reality to a degree.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is another great example where we are seeing this across the world. This is a very blatant kind of one where you could have written about this 2 years ago and you could guess that this type of thing is happening.
Well, absolutely. I suppose in this case, that stuff had been happening 5 years ago, let's say. It's not
Exactly.
literally
New.
something that's only been happening in the last 7 or 8 months. It's been something that's been going on as people's opinions and people's lives started to get weaponized against each other, which is just a sad state of affairs.
It is. And I think this will be explored more in The Boys next season.
Absolutely.
Because I think this is where we're going to see the Starlighters versus the Homelanders, and that's what we're going to call... Let's call it left versus right, but they're going to call it Starlighters versus Homelanders. And it's going to be... So there's going to be more of these types of discussions, and it will... I think The Boys will be more... Will more blatantly call it out, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's the... So I think this, again, we know this is a setup, so I think for those of us who do look at all these things and notice what's going on, and like you, and like our listeners, I think we'll go, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
This is going to stick with us. I think some people may not notice it. Some people might go, it's just although they were pretty blatant with the 1984 and trans fire book pile.
Yeah, but
it was a bit on the nose, but yeah,
I do like to often state that my favorite review that we've ever got for our Boys podcast was "Go Woke, Go Broke." Going woke is for losers. On our Boys podcast, the most woke show that we've ever covered, even more woke than all of the Marvel shows combined. There's still people that watch the show, and still people that, well, maybe they don't even watch the show anymore. Still people that thought they watched the show because Homelander was a superhero. So, yeah. There's people out there that just ignore every single bit of subtlety that's in the show. So. But there you go. That's my minor moment. Chris, how about yourself?
Stan the Man.
Welcome back, Stan Edgar. Yes.
Yeah. We actually discussed Stan Edgar in The Boys when he disappeared, and we were like, where is he? Are they going to bring him back? Is that him gone now? And we were very much like, wait, hold on. They're just like, how are they not tying that up?
Yeah, because he was the central kind of sort of villain in the first season until Homelander stepped up. He was the head of Vault, such a central character, and I think we kind of put it down to, well, it's Giancarlo Esposito. Like, he's got 25 other roles that he just walks off set and goes on to the next one. So maybe you just can't get him back for the season. But how great to have him back in this show.
And for what seems to be setting up his return, like, he is actively trying to get back into the ownership and leadership of Vought. It's so interesting to see that. This is not Giancarlo Esposito sunsetting himself as we thought it might be. No, this is, they set him up here and they're like, hey, no, he's got Neuman's kid, his granddaughter is with him, and they're gonna regain control.
Yeah, still 2 episodes left of this season, Chris.
I know.
We still got a few more surprising deaths to come. So I wouldn't say he's definitely going to survive the season. But but they're setting him up with a good storyline at least.
Exactly, and there's someone who could theoretically bring him back now.
True.
Well, I don't know. If Homelander rips you apart, can you still come back?
All she needs to do is knit the blood back together.
I was just shocked to see him, and I think that it was good to see this Neuman's kid coming in and tentaclizing Vikor was not on my like my kind of okay, that's how you're gonna deal with this. Cool. And then seeing him come in, I was like, because when I did first see Neuman, I was like, oh, who's that? I think I know that face. And then when the tentacles happen,
absolutely.
And then you get that very recognizable voice that is Giancarlo Esposito, and you're like, cool.
Yep.
Great. So that's kind of my minor moment, because I just thought him being back is such a... I just didn't expect it. It was just a kind of a great thing to have.
Yeah. And he just kind of swans through this world with just that confidence that nobody else seems to have. You know, he's been on the rocks. He's been down to his lowest point. He's been dragged away from his company. He's lost his daughter. His granddaughter was ripped away from him. And here he is back, pretty comfortable. In a place that he says is his underground bunker that he says that's even more expensive than the crap one that Zuckerberg built for himself. Which is great. Love that little gag. I'm going to move on to our medium moments because it kind of kicks off from what you mentioned there about the return of Zoe Neuman. Because that was my kind of medium moment from the episode. I thought it was a real surprise. And what I really liked about it was that Vikor shows up because Cipher sent him there. There's another plot we'll kind of talk about in a minute, where they're trying to track Marie and all the gang. They're able to get the information that they're at the library. Vikor shows up, and the first thing I thought was like, you'd think with the powers of Cipher that he'd have one more soup on his payroll, but he seems to just have this one henchman. Vikor just seems to be the one and only soup that he's able to use, or that's doing his bidding, basically, because he's an absolute a-hole. He doesn't need to control him. He just goes and does whatever Cipher asks him to do. So when Cipher got his face ripped off and his head ripped apart, I was really surprised. It was just like, oh, okay, well then at least he's gone, so we don't have to see him again. What's Cipher going to do now when he doesn't have this guy as his henchman, basically? But it was a real surprise. Cool to see Zoe back. There's so much storyline, I suppose, from Neuman within the boys' show. She was such a central character, teaming up with the boys, getting very close to effectively working with them to take down Homelander using her powers. That was kind of the deal that they'd made with her before Billy Butcher came in and ripped her in half. She'd made that deal. They were going to sort her out. But I suppose when you're able to pull all that together, she also told Marie that she had the same powers as Victoria Neuman. So now with Marie and Zoe connecting together again, that does set up Marie to be the champion that could take down Homelander with her powers, right? So lots of people want her for this. We talked about it last week. Lots of people want Marie for the powers that she has. She's been now trained that she can bring people back from the dead just by focusing on the blood. But she can also kill Homelander, which is what Victoria Neuman could have done if she'd been able to surprise Homelander, I think was kind of the idea, right?
Yeah, I was curious because does that mean Stan Edgar worked with Godolkin's research to make Neuman? Because Newman's power set. So, or did he use some... I'm wondering if there's a connection there. Like, because she says that blood bending was Newman's power. We knew that to be a fact. We thought Newman's power originally was more...
she could head explode people.
Yeah, she could pop people's head like a balloon. Yeah,
we thought it was quite simple, yes.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if there's something additional there, just in terms of maybe Sam Edgar was trying to recreate Marie or some of Godolkin's research made Neuman.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it's kind of like Stan says he shut down the program. So I don't think he was involved in it as such. He shut down the program because it wasn't working, and he says the only two people that survived it were Homelander and Marie, but he doesn't talk about all the other soups that are out there in the world, most of them being given their compound V that gave them their powers. As far as I remember, Victoria Neuman's the same as that. She was experimented on at Red River, or experimented on and went to Red River, but I don't think she was part of this Odessa program as such.
No. So, let's say, for example, I'm going to use a Marvel reference, comic book reference. Okay?
Oh no, Chris.
Yeah, I know.
How could you?
So in comic books, you have Magneto and Polaris. Magneto, both of them can control magnetism, or they're masters of magnetism. But now, Polaris turned out to be, through comic book stuff, Magneto's daughter, but take that out. You have people with the same power sets. Let's say that, right?
Yeah.
But one is tiers above in terms of strength and ability, and the other is not.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's kind of what they're saying here, which is more, okay, yes, Homelander has some of the same power sets of some of the other soups, so Golden Boy could fly and was invulnerable in strength, like Sam.
Yeah.
But Homelander's on like echelons above in terms of strength and durability and stuff. Absolutely. And what we're saying with Marie is that the power set there is like same as Neuman, but tiers above.
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering if that's where they're getting into. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's very much it. It's that Marie is this massively superpowered individual that went through the full program in Odessa. She survived it, so she has powers that are as yet unexplored, and Cipher's looking to explore them. Basically, that's why he killed her sister. And there's a great conversation that's happening amongst the group when they're leaving the prison, where Emma's kind of going, telling Sam, that's not the weirdest thing that happened. She did a miracle. Like, she brought her sister back to life. Like, stop saying that that's a miracle. I just did what he said I had to do, and he was right. And that's not a miracle. It is pretty much a miracle. As we talked about last week, she is Jesus and her sister is Lazarus, But Chris, I meant to say, we didn't say this, but I have to play the sounder.
You were right. I was wrong. You were right.
David Tennant there from Good Omens. I don't get to use that very often outside of Good Omens, but yes, Chris last week had suggested that the team would not be staying in Elmira for very long. They got out within the first 10 minutes of the show, also suggesting that Annabeth was powered, even though everything previously on in the season had said that she wasn't powered. She is also powered. She's a precog, able to see the future potentially. Said that Sam would come in and help them, and Sam did. Yeah, where'd you get all this information, Chris? How did you get all this right?
I need to be a writer on the show. We talked,
but this is the first time in 6 seasons of shows that you've gotten anything right.
But see, okay, much like a broken clock, I could be right at least twice a day. And also, if you fling enough feces at a wall, some of it will stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's more. We go for the shotgun approach sometimes, and I'm going to savor this win and forget about all the other losses.
Right. Excellent.
I'm very intrigued by so much of this.
Mm-hmm.
In that, I did actually, when we sat down and then we started talking about it, I was like, "You're right. They have to spend the time here. They have to give her time to power up herself, and they have to do that. So they do that in the cage." And I was like, "You're right. You're 100% right. That's what makes sense." And I was like, "You talked me out of it." And then I was like, when we watched this, I was like, "Oh God,
Derek got me out of this. Derek's just as stupid as I am."
Yeah, I should have stuck with my guns.
I'm very good at talking, Chris.
You are. I think the interesting bit is that Annabeth is powered, because I think that is a question, which means that the parents did just compound V their second kid. It doesn't by the time Annabeth was born, Project Odessa would have been done. Dr. Gold would have been done. And Edgar, we learned in this episode that Edgar had already shut it down.
Yeah.
So it looks like that Annabeth was just a standard compound V kid, like all the rest of the others, which was the parents were given the baby compound V and some form of pain.
And it's an odd one, isn't it? Because we know that Marie's powers didn't manifest until she became a teenager.
Yeah.
When she had her period, then the blood seeped out and she killed her parents back then. So it's odd that her parents would have fed compound V to their second child, having not experienced what all the tests did to Marie in the first place. But maybe they didn't know. Maybe they didn't know that was the experimentation that had happened on Marie.
Yeah. They play that very well by going, well, we can't ask them now, can we? Yeah. Because someone killed them. And exactly. I'm like, oh, that's a good one. That is a very good one, because you then do set up the fracture between the sisters.
Yeah.
And I think it's still good. Like, even though you would think Annabeth would still understand, because she's like, you can't control your powers.
Well, exactly.
I couldn't control mine.
Yeah. It's just, I suppose Annabeth doesn't have physically powerful powers.
Yes.
And the fact that she can't control it just means that she doesn't get headaches and predict what could be happening in the future. That's the only thing. So it's probably not as similar. She probably couldn't kill someone by seeing something in the future, but it is massively uncomfortable for her. But yeah, it's going to be tough for Marie to pull the two of them back together again. But at least she's attempting to do it, and at least now she knows that her sister does have powers. So yeah. One final thing on my media moment, just about Zoe Neuman. I just had to pay attention because we'd seen her being protected and taken care of by Victoria. We saw her being taken away and put into Red River. We now know that she got powers from the injection that she was given at the Compound V. We saw that as well in the boys. She's so disconnected, though, from humanity, I found, in this episode. Like, she rips off the head of Vikor, leaving his body behind, kind of smiles at her grandfather who brought her there to do it. Kind of reminded me of the kid from the start of Battle Royale, if any of you have seen that, the kid who won Battle Royale, covered in blood. For about the next 20 minutes, she's perfectly happy with herself, covered head to toe in the blood of Vikor, until has to be told by Stan, maybe you need to go and clean up, sweetie, and show the other kids to their rooms, and she's like, okay, no problem, Grandpa. But she is completely disconnected from reality, it seems. Like, probably seeing her mother brutally murdered did something like that to her, and obviously spending time in the orphanage did that to her as well. But I just wanted to mention that she does seem quite disconnected from humanity as well.
Yeah. No, very much so. I think you're right. When you see your mother ripped in half, God bless Previously On.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I was like, oh yeah, that's how gory that scene was.
Absolutely.
Forgot about that one.
Sometimes, but when that happens and you go, oh, well, I guess we're going to get reconnected with those characters because they wouldn't have shown it to us otherwise, right?
Yeah.
But still, really good. Chris, what's your media moment from the episode?
Yes, I want to talk about Sam and Emma.
Mm-hmm.
You briefly touched on Emma stealing the scenes in the van.
Absolutely.
And I think, like,
I don't want to go to Canada with you weird strangers. It's a different country. No, it's not. It's Canada.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God, Emma.
They've just given her the best one-liners.
She really should stop drinking and going to parties and going to at least a geography class to find out that Canada's a different country, right?
But I couldn't tell if she was serious or not. That was the even best thing about the character. You're like, wait, does she actually think Canada is part of the US?
Or in this world, has Homelander annexed Canada?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we would have heard that.
Well, maybe that's something for the start of season 5 of The Boys.
Yep. Once again, throughout this episode, when they get to the library, seeing these two characters interact, we kind of are starting to remind the viewers about how good they were in season 1, playing off each other.
Yes.
And kind of the two levels of crazy, if you want to call it that. Crazy fun and then crazy.
Broken, yes.
Broken. Just how, even just as like characters and actors, they played well together. And then seeing them in this show, this scene in this episode, for example, when they go looking for the phone and they're like on the computer and you get, who's that? Would you want to call that? Do you want to message him as well? And just playing off that. That's
just Greg. He's a guy. What kind of guy? A guy.
A guy, yeah. So don't worry about that. Don't worry.
Don't message him. No.
Yeah.
I also absolutely adored Emma getting the phone and trying to call anybody at all in her phone book and realizing she has no idea of anybody's phone number. I think the closest she gets is an area code for the state where the university is. Doesn't even get down to a number and missing one digit. She has no idea of anybody's phone number.
There's a 4 in it somewhere.
Yeah, it's like absolutely no use. And to be honest, she's smarter than I am, because I would probably, if I had access to the internet and couldn't remember someone's phone number, I would be Googling the phone number, as opposed to going onto my Insta and sending a DM to somebody to contact them.
I was surprised they allowed Insta, not like Vault Network or Vaultogram.
It was Vault OS, wasn't it?
There was a Vault OS, and
yeah.
I just loved the interactions of these two characters. Fast forwarding to then Edgar's bunker.
Yeah.
Sam is more stable.
Yes.
And
doubt.
It's interesting. So we hear in the brief 24 hours-ish they were in the prison. He has taken some medication.
Yes, he's got new medication. Yes.
New medication, and it seems to be working a bit more, stabilizing him. And he is trying to make amends, and he makes apologies. And you do get a very interesting kind of like he would like to rekindle their romance. And you do see Emma. She doesn't initially like say no. And I think that's a very... Okay. I took it as, like, she's uncomfortable. She doesn't know how to let him down. Yeah. But it's not an immediate, like, what the hell? Get your hands off me.
I think she understands that he wants to rekindle it, doesn't want to break his heart, but knows there's absolutely no way she can go back with him. That's what she seems to be saying in that scene. It's like, I don't know, it's like the alcoholic that breaks your heart and then stops drinking for a day and goes, can we get back together, baby? You know, it's like, well, yeah, okay, when we had good times, but the bad times were way worse. And it's only been a day since those bad times have stopped. So maybe give it a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Or a couple of years, or maybe you go find someone new and I'll go find someone new because maybe we're not right for each other.
Maybe.
You know.
I'm just interested to see where it goes. I think, I would like to see them back together. He did do something stupid, but he was crazy. So,
well, yeah. There's some really interesting points to the conversation. You know, when he's in the bunker there and he's kind of going, "Could you live in a place like this? You know, this is the wealthiest person he's probably ever met in his entire life, and he's sunk all of his money into an underground bunker that is." With a few extra bells and whistles, pretty much the same kind of place that Sam has been trapped in for about 10 years, right?
Yeah,
underground.
In the forest, yeah.
Yeah, with the woods, yeah, with the pictures on the walls that make you think you're outside, you know? And he's like, why would somebody spend money to be underground pretending that they're not underground, you know? That's exactly what happened to me. So I thought that was really interesting. Fair dues as well to Asa German here as Sam. I think his character feels so different than the walking on eggshells version of him that we saw with his parents even last episode. Yep. He feels so much more comfortable and so much more confident. Just feels, it does feel like the meds are working, but as you say, it's only been a day, Chris. You know, it's like, I don't have that hangover for one day. Doesn't cure you, right?
But he does get to Kool-Aid Man.
Yes,
so that is cool.
Yes,
and they reference Kool-Aid Man. And he was like, that's so much easier to find you. I got a van. Playing off that, I think that was fun.
That's great.
So that was my medium moment. Should we move on to our senior moments for this episode?
Absolutely, yes. My senior moment for this episode is Polarity and Cipher. So last time we saw Polarity, he was on the floor of his house after destroying the place when he broke down. Effectively, had another one of his turns, and he wakes up to find Cipher in his house, thinking that the place had been destroyed by some kind of brawl or battle that happened there. But he's trying to get Polarity on side. He's trying to tell him that he now has Marie, and if he can get Marie back, Marie could cure Polarity because that's how powerful she is, which I thought was quite an interesting little option being given to Polarity. He doesn't take it up very well. He gets pretty angry at him, but doesn't have his powers back. He seems absolutely wrecked, to be honest, from what happened to him last time. But Cipher takes control of him so that he can get the information from the phone call from Harper, which again, so he's in control of Polarity, which is also pretty interesting. But he reveals his big plan to him. And, you know, we've been talking about the plans and what exactly is it that everybody wants to do. We saw Sister Sage back last week. We were saying that even though she and Cipher were saying their plan was to control Marie and then take over from Homelander and kill Homelander, that actually Sister Sage's plan is never to take down Homelander. She's told him she's on his side and she will keep him in power. Cipher reveals a very different plan here. His plan is to get rid of all of the non-God tier soups. All of the soups that don't have powers that are what he would consider to be massively powerful. He'd handpicked, I think it was 10 or 15 students to do the training. And we heard many of them were dropping out or were dropped out of the program as he realized they weren't going to be powerful enough for him. But he's literally saying he's going to wipe out 75% of the soups at Godalkin University and leave them with only the ones that are powerful and strong enough to live, because he doesn't believe in this idea of just because you have superpowers makes you, or just because you have powers, it makes you a better human or better than human. He believes in a next level up, a next tier up. Really interesting. And to me, this is another reason why I think it's still Thomas Godalkin. That sounds like the Nazi ethos, doesn't it? It sounds a bit like that.
Ubermenschen, yeah.
That he believes that Marie is going to be one of them, that he needs to be in charge of and get rid of everybody that's not the same power level as her.
Yep. Because, for example, we hear about a kid having a singularity in their behind is not a kid that will survive and not a soup that should be existing.
Yeah, I had that in my notes because that's the guy who was butt chugging beer earlier on in the season.
And it's also the same kid we saw when Sam and Jordan were fighting.
That's right, with the guy climbing out from that singularity.
Yes.
That's much easier to say than the way we said it before. Yeah, so I'm glad we've heard it.
Yes,
and I'm glad that his superpower had made it all the way up to the dean of students as well.
Yeah, especially in terms of what he could do.
Can you imagine, like, you're filling out your entry form for Godalkin University, and they ask what your superpower is, and that's what you have to write down in your form. I have a quantum singularity in my a-hole.
Can you imagine trying to figure out how you knew about it?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
It's like, how did you find out about that power?
I've lost 15 toilets.
Oh, sure, okay, I didn't go that way. I went a completely different way. I've lost 15 lovers. I think this is definitely an interesting predicament that we get into.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because you're right, this sounds more like a Nazi, like what we have seen, and we are linked to Thomas Godalkin being over 100. We've seen his special bunker already.
Yep. With
Ku Klux Klan, with Nazis.
Yes.
We've seen all these weird costumes.
Yes.
The additional memorabilia. It's too much of an out to have that Cipher is his son. It's just too quick. It's too nicely wrapped up. I think, and again, they may do it because I think everyone's still going, that doesn't. But we do hear these stories about, you can see how they could write that an abusive Nazi father who abuses his son and has made his son, like, his sole goal is to build the next Uber soup. And you could see that. But the age doesn't work for me. Yeah. That's one of the problems.
Yeah. Like, Hamish Linklater would have to be 57, I think. Is that right? Roughly?
Potentially more.
Because Thomas Godalkin was in the action in 1967, so we're roughly 57, 58 years since then, so he'd have to be almost 60. I don't think Hamish Linklater is 60.
No, and again...
Unless he got his father's genes.
Yeah, maybe. But also, Godalkin was in his 20s by the looks of the actor initially in the first episode.
Yeah.
And, let's say, late 20s, right? But he's had to been also in the... If that was in the 60s, in the 40s, he would have had to have been an actual scientist for the Nazis.
Maybe. Yeah.
So again, you're like, it just timing wise. So I still think there's something more there. I think there is. They're going to do it. It's interesting to see how this plays off with the Sister Sage, because is Homelander of the opinion, like, is this a Homelander in on this? Is this, only the most powerful will rule? Only the best of the best?
Yeah.
And is that what we are talking about? Is Sister Sage actually doing this with Homelander to produce the next generation? We know Homelander thinks his genes are the best. We've
Absolutely.
seen that with Ryan, his son.
Yeah.
He believes he is the father of the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing now that he is the product of Odessa, he is the product of manipulation,
Yep.
he is the product of an additional experiment outside of just Compound V and good luck and genes. That's not what we know now. There's more to that.
Yeah.
It's interesting as we go into the penultimate.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do, as of right now, we have not been told there is a Gen V Season 3.
Yeah.
As of right now, we are aware that Gen V Season 2 finishes.
Mm-hmm.
We go into the next season of The Boys.
Yeah.
The only thing confirmed is the prequel series with Soldier Boy.
And the Mexican set.
And the Mexican set.
Boys
Sorry,
spin-off, yes.
Yes. But, and of right now, one is a prequel. Mexican, we assume, will probably take place after The Boys.
Maybe.
After,
Yeah.
Unless it's another prequel.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have to assume right now that this has to be at least somewhat wrapped up ahead of going into the Boys. So you're going to have to close off a majority of it maybe in the next 2 episodes. And I think that is where we do then get next episode. You get more about Cipher's plan.
Mm-hmm.
And in the finale, you get the reveal that it was Godolkin all along. He was doused in additional Compound V.
Maybe.
He had already given himself, experimented on himself, something like that.
Yeah.
And as part of that, he was like one of the very first human people giving himself Compound V, like Butcher. Butcher has now become like a full-on monster in The Boys. Godolkin was one of the first of those. And the only reason we haven't heard more about this is because he died, quote unquote, in a fire.
Yeah, he burnt up. Yeah.
And this also explains how he survives a fire. Like, he is a bit more indestructible. Not completely. He's crispy.
Absolutely. It's not the greatest of ways to be living for 60 odd years, right?
No.
Yeah.
But it's just it's a cool. That sounds terrible when I say it, but it's an interesting plan.
It is absolutely. I love how it ties in. And again, just look back at the 4 seasons of The Boys. There's always a Nazi behind it somewhere. So it makes sense. It ties into the whole ethos of this entire show that there are still Nazis out there hiding in plain sight. And it would make sense that we have another Nazi here. But there was just one other moment of that whole situation between Cipher and Polarity, because Cipher took full control of Polarity's body, as I mentioned during that phone call, but he is also forcing him to slap himself until Polarity stops him.
Mm-hmm.
And then pushes back and throws Cipher out the window of his house, or of his apartment. So Polarity is strong enough to push back against Cipher and throw him out of the house. And Cipher's gone as well. When Polarity goes out and looks out the window, Cipher's gone. So it's just interesting that while there's this plan revealed that he's going to kill 75% of Supes because the top 25 is all that he wants left, the most powered ones, Polarity wouldn't necessarily have been considered in that group. But maybe the other thing that was revealed earlier on in the season, that everybody can train their powers, and if they train them, that makes them much stronger. Maybe that's what's happened here with Polarity. He's now accessed a next tier of his powers by being forced into this situation by Cipher.
Yeah, and that is something Cipher talks about. He puts people in these stressful situations to force that. And we've seen something like this before. You and I have discussed this with Invincible, another Amazon show.
Yeah.
Where you literally have the character of Invincible talking about how he has to train and push himself to get harder, better, stronger, faster.
Yes.
And that's what we kind of see here. I think an even more interesting, another way of looking at this could also be Cipher has been using his powers too much. Because if this is Godolkin using Cipher as a puppet, and then he's using his puppet to puppet, maybe that kind of is just a lot of strain on a body.
Yeah, potentially.
So, and then he's pushing and additionally forcing another. He's puppeting a puppet of a puppet, i.e. Godolkin is puppeting Cipher, who is also then puppeting Polarity.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a string. And maybe that again is another way it might be a clue.
Yeah.
But I do like it's again more likely is what you've talked about, which is if you push hard enough, that ability there is unlocking additional powers.
Yeah, I just kind of love that idea, just purely because we're going into that final season of The Boys with hopefully one set of soups up against another set of soups. So we could have maybe all the ones that are being run out of Galdu, the not God tier soups, have a possibility of training themselves up to really stand up to Homelander and his team.
They briefly flighted with this idea last season with The Boys.
Yeah.
In that Starlighter she learned to fly. And they use that as the big piece at the end. She couldn't fly before, but she was able to expand her powers beyond to allow her to fly.
That's it, Chris. We found the key to this entire season of Gen V. It's all about the expansion of powers for soups who think they're lower tier. What's going to happen next?
It's just done. We're done. We don't need to do any more.
Do you have anything else on your major moments, Chris, for this episode?
This one, I did want to discuss basically this premise. We've talked about a lot of it already, which is that God tier power set that Edgar talks about. So as they go into this discussion and he's talking to Marie about this, I find it interesting how Marie reacts to this, which is, it's just so interesting. Like, it does feel, I'm going to use the joke of Monty Python, which is, he's not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy. She is rejecting this Messiah piece. She's rejecting this, I am not that. I am not as powerful. And I think it's slowly settling in. Edgar confirms to her with the reports that she was the only other person outside of Homelander who survived, etc., etc., etc. All these additional pieces of information has kind of confirmed to her. What I find interesting, two pieces. First is that she denies Kate. I thought that when Kate asked her to fix her, I thought she would turn around and go back in. I felt like that was the perfect moment to almost bring the two of them back together and bring it back in. I was like, oh, great, that's a good... Now, I still think that she hasn't said no directly. I think the whole thing is the two of them are going to go off and she's going to do it on her way back with Kate. I think that's potentially a kind of how they get around that into the next piece. Yeah,
I'm not going to say no, Chris, because you're probably right.
Yeah.
just for me, it's just that feeling that I get from Marie is just that she doesn't want to use this exceptional power that she has uncovered, because every time she does, in the back of her mind, it's like somebody saying Cipher was right. You know, that's almost what it's like when you've got Kate going, that. Can you fix me? You have the power to fix me. You can sort this all out. And she kind of just turns her back and walks away because she's like, oh God, but then Cipher's right. And maybe I am this Messiah thing. I have to accept that mantle almost that's put on me. That's almost what it feels like, because she says that a couple of times in the episode as well. So.
She did. And that's kind of where I was thinking it was going. I take it that she's heading back to Cipher to train further, to become that person, based on she can be the anti-Homelander.
Interesting.
Because that conversation with Jordan, because she has so vocally up to that point been, I'm not this person. I'm not I can't do this. It's not fair. I took it as almost the emo piece at the end where it's like, oh, right, let's do this.
Right.
I'm gone.
Interesting.
And that's why because if she had with the conversation with Jordan and the sneaking out, like if she told the rest of them she was going back to Cipher to train to be stronger, they'd all try to stop her and talk her out of it. That's why I kind of go, she's sneaking out during the middle night. She's not running away again. And I think that's where they may have set it up. And I also then just took as the Kate, which is like, I'm going to do it, but just come on, let's go. Like, I'm not... It's just, I think it's going to be we need that training montage. We're gonna need a montage.
Yeah.
We do need, like, she's still not. She needs some time. She needs some, like, she still needs that one more scene with Cipher.
Maybe.
To pull more out of the character. I think that's the bit I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bit we get next episode.
Interesting. Because what we learned from Stan this episode when he finds out about the body that they'd seen potentially being Thomas Godolkin, he's like, all right, all bets are off now. I want you to get inside his head and find out everything about all the experiments, because maybe there's another key to taking down Homelander that we haven't even thought of yet. And the way to get to that is through Cipher. So, so I just wasn't sure what the actual plan was for Marie. She didn't really say much. You just kind of see her outside, and then Kate comes up behind her. I thought she was just going after Cipher, and she was going to force him to tell her the information that she wanted to know, basically.
Yeah, which is hard because she doesn't have that ability.
Yeah, but that's exactly the point that Kate's trying to make. If you cure me and fix me, well, then I'll be able to get all the information. That's her power. So, yeah.
That's fair.
Interesting. But I guess we'll find out next week.
We will. Do you have any notes, Derek, for this episode? Do you want to talk about?
I just have 2 lines that I absolutely loved from the episode. My first one was Emma is staying out of the fight with Vikor, but being told, look, you're a superhero. Why don't you go off and use one of your powers? So why don't you just grow big and step on him? And Emma can't work out how to get there. And then turns around to Kate and says, just tell me something nice about me, and then I'll be able to get big. And Kate just stops and goes, like what? Emma just instantly tells her to go F herself. Because, like, all she needed was just something nice. Your hair is nice today, or anything at all. And Kate can't even think of one nice thing to say to her. How lovely. My other one that I really liked was when they arrive in the bunker and Stan tells Zoe to take them all off to go and clean up because they must be sick of smelling like that. And you see Emma just sniffing her armpits to see if she stinks as bad as Stan is saying that they are. Yeah, like that.
No, that was a good one. My only note is, if you're a millionaire with a bunker and you have one screen as a window, why only 8 scenes? I'm not a billionaire. I don't have a bunker, but my TV has more than 8 scenes.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I was like, interesting.
One for every city in the world, maybe?
Yeah, something.
Be good.
You could literally do so much more.
You could have infinite photographs scrolling forever.
Yes.
And you don't even need that much money. You can do that on like a Google screen.
Yep. Yeah, it's a weird one. With that aside, and another weird conversation, Derek, what is your final thoughts on Gen V Season 2, Episode 6, Cooking Lessons? I
liked this episode. I thought it was a really interesting episode. It was a lot to unpack. The return of Zoe and Stan Edgar was a real surprise. It was kind of cool to see the two of them back. Death of Vikor was really good, actually. It was very cool to see. But overall, it was one that was filled with exposition to get us to the end of the season. You have to have episodes like this. That's just the nature of telling a story, right? We need to set everything up as we get to the end of the season. So not my favourite episode of the season, but a great episode of this season of Gen V. How about yourself, Chris? What do you think overall?
Yeah, this was a Basil exposition episode. I think I'm in the exact same boat. If you enjoy breaking down the show, if you enjoy kind of getting into the nitty gritty, I think this episode had a lot for you to kind of masticate on, chew, think about. I think for some others, it might have felt a bit slow, and I think it might have been a bit like, I say that because my partner was a bit like, on this episode. Because she didn't know as much about Edgar from the last episode, the other show. So again, she was a bit like, I don't understand why this is such a big deal.
Right.
So I think it was a good episode. Not one of my favorites, not one of the best, but it gave us a lot of, where are they going to go with this now? You're giving me a lot of information.
Exactly.
And it's basically because we've 2 episodes left.
Yeah. 7
and 8. We're in our penultimate next week. And I'm like, and you don't have a lot to do, but you still have to like the bad guy is just giving away his plan to one person.
Yeah.
You got to set up the big fight in the finale.
And they will. They accomplish a lot with 2 hours of this show.
Exactly. So I'm like, oh, that's good. You put a lot of. I'd say you need another 20 minutes just setting the chess piece, and then we've got a good, like 40 to hour 40 destruction level of finale. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Fantastic. Let's go for a drink, Chris. After
Yes.
all that discussion of the cooking lessons, I think we need to pair it with some nice wine, or maybe just a beer, down in the local student union bar.
Yes. Question 6 for episode 6. What is the name of the building where the group hide out before they are found by Stan Edgar?
This one we talked about a lot, so I told you it'd be easy because John isn't here.
Yeah, it has a particular name. If you really want a hint, go back and pause the scene, and you will easily get it.
Not only that, a couple of people are wearing hats and shirts with the name of it on it as well,
there you
so it's not that difficult.
No, not
Great
at all.
stuff. That's the 6th question of 8. All you need to do is gather together the 8 answers at the end of the season and email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, and you can be with a chance of getting your hands on some Gen V goodies. This episode of TV Podcast Industries and, of course, the pub quiz are brought to you by our supporters over on Patreon, including our latest supporter, Sarah Mirowalski. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. It's great to have you on board, and especially as one of our supporters.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be cool and hip and down with the kids like Sarah, you can support us for any monthly amount over on patreon.com/TV Podcast Industries, or you can support us with a one-off donation by heading on over to buymeacoffee.com/TVPI and buying our illustrious editor-in-chief, Derek. He's also our producer.
Mm-hmm.
A coffee.
Sometimes a host, too.
Ah, yeah, sometimes. One of the best ones. I'd say top 3.
Thanks, Chris. Top 3, that's what I like.
Yeah. You can support us there. Or, if you really want to, you can support us by subscribing to the podcast and sharing it with your friends. Because sharing the podcast is what, Derek?
Sharing the love. Excellent stuff. And we would love to hear your thoughts about the show. Keep emailing us into feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com or over in our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/tvpodcastindustries. First up, we got an email in from Mark. Just a general comment on the show from Mark. He says, "Gentlemen, the showrunners seems obsessed with showing male nudity, embarrassing men and mutilating male genitalia. Additionally, 90% of the male characters are evil, stupid, boorish, weak or mean. There is never any female nudity, even when it would make sense for there to be. Have the showrunners discussed why this is? If so, or if not, why do you think this is so? It cannot just be to even the playing field of female treatment, as this is over the top. Thanks." From Mark. Interesting thoughts there, Mark. I don't think that's actually the case in this show. I think in general, male nudity is shown on TV shows because it's hilarious, for the most part. There's no specific embarrassing men and mutilation of male genitalia in this show. I know that we've had moments of that on the show over the last couple of seasons, but it's predominantly just been for the comedy of it. We had that moment where Emma walked into the shower room with loads of naked men around her. I didn't see any moments of that was embarrassing for men. They were just there, and that's how the scene played out. We've had Emma naked because her embarrassing moment is that she's always nude after growing or shrinking, because her clothes don't grow or shrink with her. But the show has never been about titillation. It's not about nudity for the sake of making someone look amazing on screen. The show is the comedy. And yeah, I think that's the way they would usually view it. But maybe it's because, as you say yourself, maybe it's because 99% of every other show that's out there that shows nudity, it's only women that are shown.
I'd agree. Yep. I think I'm not sure about the evil, stupid, boorish part either. No, just my own opinion, Mark, in that, like, we have Sam. Mm-hmm. Sam is not evil. Sam is broken, in his own words. He made mistakes, and I think they're trying to get him and rehabilitate him. You take Jordan. Mm-hmm. Jordan is 50% of the time a male character. Yeah. And they are not evil, stupid, boorish, weak. Yeah. If anything, one of the strong. It's outright said that Jordan is one of the strongest characters, literally from a power set perspective. Mm-hmm. I think that the difference is, like, if in another show the character of Emma would have been a male, and then that character would have run through doing the exact same scene, but it would have just been flipped. And I think other shows would have had just flipped. They're not doing this here to even the playing field treatment. I think it's more the character of Emma makes sense as a female for this show, for this what it is. And I think that's why then you would have her, like, it wouldn't have been as comedic to have her run through a female locker room.
Yeah.
I'll quickly just finalize this, which is, I think it is comedic moments. We talk about showing male nudity. One of the funniest scenes in the show, in this universe, was one of the first seasons where we saw a tiny, tiny shrinking man diving into a penis for comedic shits and giggles.
Oh, yeah.
And then in the first season of this, we saw a very small Emma doing something similar. Like, a lot of it's done for comedic effect, but telling a story, doing it for the right reasons. So I don't think I don't think this is the case in terms of, and there has been female nudity. So I don't think there's never been. There definitely has been in that show.
Absolutely. Thanks for your email, Mark.
Yep.
Also, over on Spotify, we had a bit of feedback in from Jimmy F, who said, his name is Polarity, not Polaris. Also, why has no one seemed to realise when Sage and Cipher were talking that Sage said they want to take down Homelander? Why am I the only one that seems to notice that? Interesting, Jimmy. I went through last week's episode. I am so sorry. I don't know how it happened, whether it was something that we were talking about beforehand or whether Chris was thinking of the Marvel character Polaris. But throughout last week's episode, for some reason, we were calling the character Polarity as Polaris throughout the episode. I think we said it about 15 times. And it was even last week's question was about Polarity, not about Polaris. So really sorry about that. Sometimes happens. It just goes to show that the show is not hosted by AI, because AI would never make that kind of mistake.
No, and also we record at night, so we're tired.
Yes, we are.
It was 100% me. I associate Polaris with magnetism, and not Magneto. So Polarity, Polaris. That's I'm currently reading the Krakoa Age comic books on Marvel Unlimited. So
very good.
Polaris is in that. There you go. That is 100% me.
But I definitely said it myself about, I think there was about 18 times you said it in the last episode, and I said it about 10 myself, Chris, so it wasn't just you.
Monkey see, monkey do. That's it. Over to your other question, Jimmy. I think it's just because we just don't believe Sage. Yeah. Like, that's very much like we're saying. We knew how close Sage was in The Boys. We've known that, what from her discussions in that last season, that how close she is. I believe she's working with Homelander or by herself. I don't think she's working with Cipher. I think she may be using Cipher. I just don't believe that she wants to take down Homelander. Homelander is her, and as she said it herself in The Boys, he is her ticket to everything she's ever wanted. And we find out she's now the CEO.
Yes, exactly. I just can't see them doing the same storyline with Sister Sage, where she's telling everybody else that she's going to take down Homelander, but actually she's on his side, because that was the entire storyline of The Boys season 4. So, great stuff. Thanks so much for your feedback, Jimmy.
Yes, thank you so much for your feedback.
A little bit of feedback on last week's episode came in from David Mr. Writer just after we recorded last week. He says, this episode ended before I knew it. Finally caught up on all the episodes. So first things first, Cipher, incredible actor for this show. Very menacing. It's nice that they've kept Andre alive, even in death. He's not just mentioned and forgotten. Good on them. As for this episode, very entertaining. I'm trying to figure out what's the end game with Cipher. How's Marie all tied to this? The ending was such a great cliffhanger. I'm still trying to figure out how she brought her sister back to life. Anyways, looking forward to the podcast. Thanks for that, David. We were exactly in that position last week, and I think we're probably still in that position this week. We're not exactly sure where everything's going and where it's all set up to go with Cipher, but a little bit more information fed out this week in this week's episode. And I'm glad you've caught up and are joining us for the rest of the episodes for the season.
Next, over on email, we got some in from the one and only Coffee and Vodka, who had this to say. Greetings, fellow defenestrated defenders. Putting this up as Exhibit A in case for longer seasons. It was nice to see the kids freed sisters reunited, the gang back together, Stan and Zoe, and to get a few answers, particularly learning part of Cipher's grand plan.
Mm-hmm.
So much of this, however, was spent on telling in one episode what could have been shown in 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
The only evidence I was watching a Gen V episode was seeing Vikor's head be turned into hamburger. Otherwise, this was much a daytime soap opera as it was a nighttime mature viewing experience. Still of high production quality, and again, always great to see Mr. Edgar. 3.5 Meat Puppet Magnetos, Cold Cadets, and Endless Exposition out of 5. Peace and take care, Coffee and Vodka. Thanks, Coffee and Vodka.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. We talked about this was the exposition heavy episode.
Mm-hmm.
I was big proponent of longer seasons. In any over the years, I've been the one saying, "Oh, this should have been a 10 episode season," or "We need more. They could have extended this out." I think very much so. Their talent. I will wait until the next 2 episodes are out.
Yeah.
Until I kind of piece this out. I didn't feel rushed. That's the one thing I'll say about this episode. Didn't feel rushed in terms of some of the other shows where we watch where we get those Boswell exposition episodes where it's literally a character comes in and just delivers the MacGuffin and all the exposition and everything they need, and then it's gone. That's not what happened, I feel, in this.
Like Stan Edgar?
No, because...
Hey kids, sit down there. I had a cooking lesson. Sit down there while I tell you everything that happened off screen that you need to know about to get you into the final battle.
Okay, yeah. I literally proved Coffee and Vodka's point.
Yeah, I think Coffee Vodka's right here. It's a great show. I really enjoyed watching it. It's absolutely right. But this is an episode that now needs to happen when you have an 8-episode season of a show. There's a lot of people joke about the fact that creators and showrunners for shows talk about their TV shows being a movie every week. It's not a movie every week, because you wouldn't have a movie that stopped for an entire hour to have someone sit down and tell you what's going to happen or what did happen off screen. This is that episode. It has to happen if you're just going to have a short 8-episode season. There were some fun bits in here. Did enjoy the episode. And as I say, it's necessary. So I'm never going to say, don't give us that episode. Can you imagine just jumping from episode 5 to episode 7 without having all this exposition? That would also be really weird. But I wish there was a little bit more propulsion actually in the episode rather than those conversations, because it was on one side Stan Edgar sitting down with our group, and on the other side Cipher sitting down with Polarity telling him the other side of the conversation, and it was just 2 conversations basically intersection and cutting back and forth between each other for the episode. So
with a lot of gore.
With a bit of gore, yes, exactly. As usual. As usual. Well, thanks so much for your thoughts on that, Coffee Vodka, though.
Yep. Thanks.
Excellent. And we also have an email in from Meryl Smith, who says, "Welcome, fellow Elmira escapees. Here we are again with another episode of Gen V. As I suspected, I knew that Sam was essential for getting the girls out of Elmira, although I do have thoughts on certain logistical elements, considering where we last left him in the previous episode. Anytime we mention Victoria Neuman, I feel the pain of her loss all over again. It's good to see Zoe again, though, and even cooler to see her real personality, which is something that we didn't get a chance to see on The Boys Season 4. And now I'm going to have to remember this actress and keep track of anything that she shows up in going forward, because she's a pretty good actress and did well in the scenes she was in. Giancarlo Esposito returned in epic fashion as Mr. Stan Edgar to bring the presence and the authority that I've really been missing in this show. It's even more hilarious how much in over their heads the Gen V crew is compared to the boys, who were largely in over their heads, often on the back foot when it came to fighting the forces of Vought, but we're dealing with a whole other degree of problems. I think that is important to how almost everyone is using Marie to an extent in this almost arms race when it comes to her abilities, from Vought to Cipher to Stan Edgar, because he uses everyone in some way, to Starlight because she was the one to initially ask her to look into Odessa. There wasn't a lot of Emma in this episode, but what we did get was still spectacular, such as the Canada line that she says they're escaping Elmira, later to the exchange that she has with Kate. Say something nice about me. Like what? That absolutely killed me. The scene between her and Sam was pretty, although I think that the story that's being told with these two characters separate is far more intriguing than the one having these two getting back together. I'm interested in the dynamic between Marie and Annabeth, and despite the new status quo that her life is forced to be in, maybe she'll make the most of it, and perhaps there can be a reconciliation between her and her sister. Her powers are almost significant as well. Precognition. which is always a unique ability when they're introduced in a story. Also, did you guys clock that look that Annabeth gave Kate? It has me wondering if she may have seen the ending of the episode in advance. Speaking of the ending, I think Marie leaving may be her way of protecting her friends being targeted by Cipher. Kate and Marie leaving at the end does have interesting promise as a team-up, two halves of a whole powerhouse, the body and the mind. I guess we're going to have to wait until next week to see how it all turns out. 3.5 decapitated Vikors, Kool-Aid Man entrances, exposition via cooking lessons, and Polarity defenestrations out of 5. Fantastic. Thank you so much for your thoughts, Meryl.
Yes, thank you so much, Meryl. Interesting. I did not clock the Annabeth look to Kate, but now you said it, I'm like, oh, maybe. Because she talked about how she just got feelings. She kind of, like, her power, her precognitive is a lot of feelings. So could be interesting. She could have been clocking that, and that's in the next episode, Annabeth will say, oh, Kate's gone with Marie. Very interesting to think about two halves. I do think Marie fixes Kate, and I think that's one of the pieces we see next episode. But I still think Marie as herself is the whole powerhouse, and Kate is going to be collateral damage in this.
Potentially.
I think so.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Meryl, for your feedback. We did get a little bit more feedback in after myself and Chris finished recording, and we'll go on to that now. First up, Dr. Bob Phillips says they didn't zig, they didn't zag, they just bulldozed through dilemmas with a man of steel and a woman of fragile snakes, superbly in story shortcutting to push us more rapidly to a finale than any other show could manage. Very much appreciated the return of evil Uncle Stan, cracking expanse of library togs, and a sliver of hope. Just like an MRI scan, Polaris can use the magnetism of Cipher against him. Very good, Dr. Bob. Yeah, it really did bulldoze through any of those problems just to crack on with the story, didn't they? So this is all about the exposition, all about moving us towards that finale in just 2 weeks' time. So great stuff. Thanks, Dr. Bob. And finally, David Mr. Writer says, okay, so I enjoyed this episode, fun twists and turns, but something felt off. The chemistry with everyone was off. It didn't feel the connection between Marie and her sister. There's no chemistry between the actors. We saw poor Sam get dehulked by Vikor with ease, and then Vikor allows himself to get shredded with ease. The chemistry between Sam and Emma was awkward in an uncomfortable way, especially when he's apologising. Felt more creepy than fun old awkward Sam and Emma from season 1. Yeah, I understand there's obvious tension, but it just felt uncomfortable to watch. I wasn't rooting for it to happen. Zoe was too bubbly that it was off-putting how positive and high energy she was. I know I'm being extremely picky here, guys. Side note, her power is messy. Every time she has to use it, she needs an instant shower and wardrobe change. The whole Cipher and Polarity scene was just weird and almost unnecessary. Also, plot hole. Edgar has a huge hideout, super secure site, but no alarm goes off and Marie can just waltz on out of there without a peep or sound or motion sensor light going off. Overall, I enjoyed it, but the episode just seemed all over the place and very disorganised and took way too many drastic turns. Thanks, David, for your thoughts on the episode. Yeah, that's a really good point about Marie escaping with absolutely no alarm going off. You would think that there would be some kind of security, at least on the lift or the elevator to get her out, that she would need to pop in a code or something, because it is a pretty secure base, you would think, unless she had a discussion with Stan before she left, that he knows that she's going or something like that. Maybe that's something we'll find out in the next episode, but I'm not sure. Maybe he just let her go because he knows what her plan is. As for the episode itself, yeah, you heard our thoughts there, that it is much more about the exposition that was in there. I think there's understandable reasons why Sam and Emma are awkward with each other. I don't think it was a meet cute. I don't think it was a will they, won't they. I know Chris is a bit more on that side, but I think this was supposed to be awkward for Emma, particularly that she's going, oh no, this guy thinks he's going to get back with me again. But, we'll see how that'll play out as the season goes on. I was wondering about that fight scene between Vikor and Sam when he's left on his own in the library. He's literally just been thrown against a whole set of books and falls to the ground, stands back up again, and Jordan goes, have you got this, Sam? And he goes, yeah, sure. As if it's going to be easy for him to fight against Vikor, but Vikor had already beaten him to the ground a couple of times, so I thought that was a bit surprising, but he did hold him off for another couple of seconds before Vikor lost his head as well. But thanks so much for your thoughts, David. Hopefully we'll hear from you again after next week's episode. Thanks so much, everybody, for your feedback. Keep sending it in to us over the rest of the season. We've got 2 more episodes to go, and we'll be back, of course, next week with Gen V Season 2, Episode 6.
Yes, we'll be back with that episode. So keep watching, keep listening, and keep your head free from little Neuman worms exploding it. Please, because we'd like you to hear it. If you have Neuman worms going in and out of your head, you're not going to be able to listen to our dulcet tones.
Absolutely.
So keep watching, keep listening, and keep being free from those worms. Bye.
Bye.